sorry, the camera cut out there. So he said, "Are you alright?" And I said, "No, I'm not alright." And he was taken back, he was shocked. And I said, "You damaged me, Dad, when I was younger. You bullied me. You made me scared of men. You bullied me." And I was firm, but I was really calm. And he was in shock. But he knew it was true, he couldn't deny it, because I told him the truth. And I went on to say a few more words, something along the lines of, "I'm not scared of you no more. And I basically said, I'm aware of what you did and all the games you played, and it's come to an end. And I've forgiven you, but what you did was wrong." And I said to him, "You said you was a believer in God." I quoted a word from the Bible, because my dad was a Catholic or Roman Catholic or Christian, and I said to him, "You're a hypocrite. In the Bible it says the way you treat the least of you is the way you treat yourself." So I just sort of said, the way you treat your son is the way you treat yourself, and you didn't treat me very well, and you made me violent. You contributed to me having loads of violent fights that I didn't want to be in with people, because I was so scared and so sensitive, and I didn't know how to speak to people, and you gave me all sorts of social problems, and you made me feel that I had to go out and sleep with lots of women to seek your approval, and I don't need it anymore. But if we're going to have a relationship, it's going to be based on honesty and respect and love, not fear. And to be fair, to his credit, he handled it very well. There was no violence, no anger, but I wasn't frightened. I had no fear whatsoever. I had absolutely no fear. I've never felt, I think it would be arrogant to say confident, but I've never felt such peace. And it felt like all this horrible fear and terror that was bullying me for years and making me feel ashamed, it all just came out. And I knew and he asked me to sit down and to continue staying. I said, I generally had to go. I said, "I've got to go." I didn't leave abruptly. He seemed sad, he apologised. He tried to deny it and justify it, which I understand. People are human, he's got an ego, of course. He's trying to deny some of it and rationalise it because he doesn't want to take the weight of being ashamed. But I knew that day that story, that horrible nightmare that was making me feel like I was a dishonest person and I couldn't trust other people, that had come to an end. And it was going to be the beginning of a new story, a beautiful story. And I was never ever going to allow someone again to bully me, and I was never going to allow myself to bully other people, because it's wrong. And it needs to be exposed and brought to light. Because for years growing up, I had this belief that you can't tell someone because you're a grass. Well, that's rubbish. And all that stuff about me seeking sympathy and being a victim and trying to get people to side, I had to be selfish for me. So when I share this story, I'm not telling anyone what to do, but I would say this is what helped me to confront him. After confronting him, there was still quite a way more to go. I've healed, I would say, the majority of my trauma, at least, if I'm being honest, I would say at least 80-90%. That the rest that's left is just a very vivid memory that comes up once in a while, but it's great because I got a great mentor and I've become a teacher myself. I became a teacher firstly 4 years ago to teach men how to go out and pick up women. But after doing that and discovering more about what people need and reflecting back to my own story, I realised that all the people that were coming to me were just the same as me. They'd been abused by a parent, either their mum or their dad. Mostly with men, it seems to be their dads. I've now started to work with women. It seems to be, it's mixed. Some men, their mum. But this social anxiety always seems to stem from, and I've done a lot of research, 17 years of researching this, and I only just overcome my social anxiety in the last 2 years. Even when I was a teacher 4 years ago, I was battling with complex social anxiety. And now that's what I specialise in teaching. I teach people and counsel them how to overcome childhood abuse and how to overcome social anxiety. One of the key things I want to share with you, what I learned on my journey, was it doesn't matter how bad you feel about yourself. It doesn't matter what someone's done to you. You can change it. You can change how you feel about yourself. And there's various ways you can do that. I personally did that through being very practical. A lot of my healing, a lot of my self-esteem, my confidence came from me going out and challenging all my fears on a practical level. I found that the books helped me a lot later on, but I found at the start, trying to read books on, overcoming fears with getting a girlfriend or starting your own business or taking on a new job, or being more assertive, being more confident, or connecting with people, or overcoming rejection. I had to go and practice these things. And I'm still learning a lot now. I'm still learning from the past and the present now. And what I'm learning is, honesty is the best policy. Again, we shouldn't feel that we're being disingenuine or we're being disloyal, because when someone abuses you, you don't owe to protect them from abusing you. This is how you put it to an end. Thankfully, the abuse has stopped between my dad now, because he's changed. To his credit, he's a lot nicer than he was. He's gotten older, he's learned his lesson, and our relationship is in the midst of getting better, which I'm really happy about. But yeah, it's been difficult for me for many years. Trust was really difficult for me to trust people. It really took me a long time. But I'm very, very grateful as well to my dad, because he taught me some great lessons. The first lesson he taught me is relationships can't survive on fear. Even if we pretend they do, eventually it comes to an end. Whether you're bullying someone, which you shouldn't, or you're both bullying one another. Because I allowed not just the bullying with my dad, I allowed friends to bully me because I had no personal boundaries. Then I became a bully physically. So I had all these relationships playing out of people, and it was all repeating that pattern, because part of my psychology thought it was normal. So by facing your fears, practicing away these beliefs, you create what I call an authentic identity. Again, something that my mentor Jeff really helped me with, because the identity that has been hurt usually reacts in abandoning itself, and it's very common in psychology. The false ego does this. It creates either a separate self or many separate selves to protect itself from being abused. So what happens is, the personality, the true you, which is your inner child that's been abused, that gets suppressed. So you start developing an egoic personality. Now, I know we all have an ego, so you may get away with it for a while, in that this identity that you're faking, and this is where all the fakeness comes from. This is what was making me feel fake, and there's lots of people that would testify and say Johnny's not fake, he's a very genuine person. I was genuine, but there was still a part of me feeling fake, and the reason is because I was keeping it a secret. So this is what I've learned from my life, and I've also learned this from my mentor's life. Identical truth. We are only as sick as our secrets. What we keep to ourselves that hurts us and we don't share it, it's gonna keep bothering you for the rest of your life. Now, obviously, you don't have to go around and tell everyone that you've been through abuse. I choose to do it because I'm a teacher, and my job as a teacher, obviously, is to share my story and to tell the truth. And I want to do this. But yes, it's been fantastic. It's just been magical, and it's been the most difficult thing I've had to do. It's been so difficult, and yeah, just I suffered so much depression, panic attacks. It all makes sense, but it was a gradual journey, and I probably could have done it quicker, but that's just how things worked out for me. And I tried everything. I tried praying to God, that helped, but the practical movement for me seemed to really give me a lot of healing. And one of the ways I did that, if not most of the ways, was to speak to people, because I had this terrible, stuttering, nervous, awkward personality that found it really difficult to relate with people. And it was the sheer embarrassment of people seeing me struggle. Then I realized it's actually no big deal. Even if you are embarrassed or you do struggle, as long as you tell the truth, people will respect you. The most important thing is always about you. If you respect yourself, if you're kind to yourself, if you forgive yourself, you will attract otherwise. But if you keep beating yourself up, saying I'm no good, I'm disingenuine, this person did it. So I feel, and I'm just trying to be really delicate, because I really don't want to feel like I've overcome my abuse now, get on yours. It's a process. So you're probably going to have to go for a stage of resentment, hate towards your abuser, guilt, shame, maybe addictive personalities. Victimization is sort of like a pit stop. I stopped at that place for a long time until I couldn't take it no more. But I don't think you're a bad person if you feel like victimization, because you are a victim, but you don't have to remain a victim. I'm no longer a victim, and I've went on to become successful in my life and to start my own business, to teach other people how to heal the exact same problems, trauma, to become socially confident. My life has completely changed for the better, but only because I stood up to my dad and the story that was continually to bully me. And I'm still learning more now, and I'm still in this healing process, but the biggest chunk of it, the biggest aspect is out there. And interestingly enough, when we put ourselves in the lion's den and we really expose ourselves to people, there's nothing, what else can be left to do? And that's the great relief you get. And that's how I feel when I do this video. And every time I teach and I talk to people, I always think, I need to be a bit more open, not just for me, for other people. It really seems to help people when I be really honest and vulnerable about my story, and to talk about how ashamed and how embarrassed I was and how scared I was and how dishonest I was at one point. And because when I talk about the successful stuff, it doesn't seem to resonate as much. And that's just my ego speaking, and there's always a part of me that enjoys that. But this is difficult, as you can probably see me struggling, but this is how I did it. And difficult is a word that became a savior to me. Difficult and uncomfortable and embarrassing. These are the three kings. These were the guys or the entities or the personalities that transform my life, and help me to transform other people and to continue to have the motivation. So you can kind of hear how much bad my dad did, but how much good he did. And I can really say that, and that's why I've been able to forgive him. And I feel a lot of compassion for him, and now my attention is really focused on so much of the good things he did. But I would not have been able to forgive him if I couldn't forgive myself and stand up to him. And when I keep saying stand up to him, that was important, but most importantly, stand up to the illusion that was created from the fear that he projected on me, and the fear that I projected back onto him, and the fear that I was projecting on other people and life and so forth. And now that fear just seems to have completely vanished, and it's just a lot of self-love. My self-esteem has been really built up, and a huge compassion for people. It's gave me it just does a lot for me. So I could go on and talk about this all day, but it's never as bad as you think. In your own mind, you always think, God, how can I tell people about this? What are people going to think about me? But it's usually the opposite. People will, I've connected with thousands of people, millions all around the world with a similar story, identical. The amount of men that I've mentored, and I've said, it sounds like we had the same dad. We might be brothers from another mother, but so many people, exactly the same dynamic. I've worked with a couple of women, and it's the same story, the same sort of bullying. And we have to put a stop to this. And Gabor Mate talks about it, because we'll pass this on to our kids. That's why I've done so much self-awareness work, because I will not pass this on to my kid. I will not physically bully I won't bully anyone, but especially my kids and my wife, because it's a serious matter. Lots of people that get abused go on to abuse again, and in psychology it's highly predicted that if you get abused, you'll abuse other people. I did that for the earlier part of my life and the latter stages of my 20s, and then I became aware and I thought, no, I don't want to treat people like that. It's awful, it makes me feel bad. I'm certainly not a bully, I've been bullied myself. So it's always again back to, it's not good what the person did, but it's your responsibility to change yourself and do it for yourself. Be yourself, don't do this for me. Fuck everyone else, sorry my language. Don't do it for your dad or your mum or me or other people or society. You have to do it for you. You have to be selfish, because if you don't be selfish to you, you will not be able to forgive the person, and it's be very difficult for you to build relationships and allow people in and trust people. And the better I got with forgiving my dad, it's amazing how that played out in social relationships. Like my sexual confidence really improved with women, and this is not showing off. I was terrified of sex to the point where I couldn't get an erection. I got embarrassed. I just seized up. That started to improve. It was all the opposite. So you go from feeling terrified of people to really confident. And I struggled sometimes with receiving love. I was actually surprisingly great at giving love out, but I didn't know how to be loved. I didn't know if I could trust it. It affected me, my morals, my ethics. It made me dishonest. I'm not saying, obviously I take responsibility for that, but all these types of confusions, and confusion was the worst part of this abuse. It was the confusion. Does the person love me? Do they not? Am I bad? Have I done something wrong? I finally got the answers. No, you're not a bad person. No one deserves to be abused. But one last thing I'll leave you with. If you can understand why the person did that, and I'm not going to go into my dad's life story, but I think you guys will be smart enough to know, obviously, he had to go through what he had to go through in his life, and he took it out on me. So if we can understand our own problems and people's problems, it will become a bit more self-aware, and we won't be beating the shit out of our kids and abusing one another, and having a bit more self-respect and self-control. You know, you can argue things out, you can talk them out, but not with violence and with self-respect. Love you guys, enjoy the process, and I hope you'll get some healing from this video. It certainly healed me, and I love you as well, Dad, but I had to put the truth out because it's wrong to bully, and in the eyes of God, everyone has to atone for what they've done, and I've had to atone for a lot of bullying I've done and pay the price for it, and it's come in forms of depression, loss, sometimes abandonment, all types of ways it came back, and I took it on the chin, and I did my time, I paid my dues, and now I'm doing a lot of good in the world, and I continue to do that. Love you guys, bye.